Chicago blocks have seen more homies get smoked than most could even count. But with King Von gone, the whole drill scene felt them shockwaves deep. The whole story painted some pictures of random beef escalating into drilling, but King Von's homies have been revealing the shocking truth, where he may have been carrying secrets that could expose the real demons behind his. This is the story of how Munna, Duke and Youngan reveal the truth about King Von's murder. King Von's Day 1 homies. Munna Duke wasn't just another face posted up in O-Block. He was the heartbeat of the whole operation. Coming up through the Black Disciples ranks, Duke earned his stripes as both a crazy shooter and a boss who had all the seasoned steppers and young wildcards showing him mad respect. The feds would later pep him as Individual B during their RICO trials, confirming what the streets already knew. Duke was calling shots that reached way past Parkway Gardens. Youngan was from a new breed of O-Block soldiers who lived and breathed this drill shit. At 28, he already built himself a rep as somebody who would crash out when it's time, earning his spot among those certified members who kept O-Block's name ringing loud in these streets. His drill tracks were speaking on some real street shit that couldn't be made up. The bond between Duke, Youngan, and King Von went way deeper than typical crew loyalty. They were blood brothers who bled together. Duke's interactions with Von showed off their musical chemistry, while their street activities demonstrated a partnership built on real respect and shared objectives. Youngan looked up to both of these older cats as mentors who understood how this game really worked. Von's success in the rap game elevated the whole O-Block brand, transforming local street cred into nationwide recognition. Duke and Youngan peeped firsthand how Von's storytelling skills and authentic street stories had audiences fiending for real drill content instead of those manufactured studio gangster fantasies. The trio were basically different sides of O-Block's identity, Von as the charismatic storyteller, Duke as the strategic boss, and Youngan as that hungry young stepper. During Duke's January 2024 No Jumper interview, he spoke about Von with some real emotion, calling him a genuine person and a stand-up guy who never forgot his roots despite blowing up mainstream. The pain in Duke's voice when he was chopping it up about Von's revealed a bond that went way beyond music or gang politics. This was a brother mourning his fallen family member. Youngan echoed the same sentiments through his social media posts and music, consistently showing love for Von's memory. That diamond-encrusted O-Block pendant that Duke was rocking during public appearances was a symbol of the collective success and Von's investment in his people. Federal investigators would later claim that Von funded these expensive pieces, showing how the rapper used his bread to elevate his crew's status and maintain their loyalty. For Duke and Youngan, wearing these pieces represented the connection to Von's legacy and their commitment to honoring his memory. Reddit discussions on various platforms documented the trio's relationships through photos, videos, and street stories that confirmed their genuine bonds. These posts also talked about Munna Duke's death, with comments like, "Only the good die young, at least he's up there in heaven with King Von and Jeffrey Dahmer," and "If they were friends with Von, then they definitely had it coming." The snake move. Duke's revelation about learning of Von's death while locked up exposed the vulnerability that real steppers face when they are removed from the streets. The emotional impact of getting that news behind the wall, surrounded by correctional officers who were equally shook, showed just how Von's end sent shockwaves way beyond Chicago's gang territories. Duke's inability to immediately respond or protect his day, one created some helplessness that would fuel his later determination to get back on the ops who did it. The circumstances surrounding Von's Atlanta trip raised questions that Duke and Youngan privately chopped it up about but never fully aired publicly. Von's decision to pull up to some release party in enemy territory, surrounded by limited security and potential ops, struck experienced street savages as unusually reckless behavior for somebody who typically moved with calculated precision. Duke and Youngan understood that successful steppers don't survive by taking unnecessary risks in unfamiliar environments. King Von's went down around 2:15 in the morning outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge on Trinity Avenue in Atlanta. Von and his crew, including his OTF Day 1s, had just left the Opium nightclub and pulled up to the Monaco Hookah Lounge. They were probably still celebrating and hit the Atlanta nightlife scene after the album drop, continuing the party atmosphere from earlier. The beef started when Von's crew ran into another group that had Quando Rondo's people in the parking lot of the Monaco Hookah Lounge. An argument popped off, and while nobody knew exactly what sparked the initial confrontation, it was likely tied to existing gang rivalries or personal issues between the crews that had been brewing for time. Quando Rondo later said in an interview that he was asleep in a car outside the lounge when Von's crew approached them, leading to the heated confrontation. Rondo said he got hit and experienced an out-of-body moment, claiming he was caught off guard by the whole situation unfolding around him. The argument quickly turned into a full with multiple people from both sides letting off shots in the parking lot area. Von got hit multiple times and was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. 2 other people got stretched in the and 3 more caught, including Timothy Leaks, who was rolling with Quando Rondo's crew that night. On-duty and off-duty Atlanta police responded to the scene when the shooting went down in the early morning hours. 1 on-duty officer and 1 off-duty officer fired their weapons, but investigators determined that Von was shot during the initial fight between the 2 groups, not by the police officers responding. Timothy Leaks got charged with felony murder on November 7, 2020, but the charge was dismissed in 2023 before trial could begin. In 2024, 5 OTF associates got charged with for hire plot targeting Quando Rondo, allegedly trying to get back for Von's. Right after King Von got shot, videos started circulating on the internet, showing how it all went down. Surveillance footage later released by TMZ showed Von throwing hands at Quando Rondo's crew before the popped off, but Duke and Youngan questioned whether this footage told the complete story. Their knowledge of Von's hands and how he really moved suggested that his choice to scrap might have been set off by stuff not caught on camera. The bros believed Von was responding to specific disrespect meant to create the exact smoke that popped off. Timothy Leaks' claim of self-defense under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law particularly heated up Duke and Youngan, who viewed the legal outcome as some straight bullshit. Their understanding of how the streets work suggested that Tim's moves were planned rather than just protecting himself, making his legal win feel like a straight violation to Von's memory. The drop charges made them believe even more that the system was built to protect Von's killers while his family stayed hurt. Leaks even said that if Von had never attacked Quando, the whole situation would have never happened and he'd still be alive. He said this in an interview.
Really find out that it was King Von. How'd you feel?
I was like, damn. If Brian did that stupid shit last night, his ass still would have been alive. That's how I was. But I was like, nigga, you know the type person I am. Like, I'm a humble person. I ain't know no disrespect for shit. Like his mama saying and shit like that. Cause I could easily get on that type of stuff and be clout chasing type shit. Like, I ain't on that type shit. I'm a humble person, but it's like, at the end of the day, if they ain't never popped that shit off, that shit never happened like that.
Duke's spot as an alleged O-Block leader gave him access to info about rival crews' movements and talks that regular members never got. Getting intel in Chicago's gang scene often showed advanced knowledge about planned hits, territory beefs, and who's linking up that could predict when smoke was coming. Duke's access to this street information network gave him insights into Von's end that went against the official random fight story. Youngan's generation of drill artists grew up putting their lives on social media, creating digital evidence that showed patterns cops couldn't peep with their old methods. His breakdown of posts, spots, and timing from the night Von got stretched showed coincidences that seemed too set up to be random. The younger members' online skills mixed with Duke's street smarts to build a clearer picture of how Von really got set up. The presence of off-duty and on-duty Atlanta police who started during Von's situation added another layer that had both Duke and Youngan heated. Their experience with the cops in Chicago taught them that them being involved often meant they had prior knowledge or was coordinating with somebody that went beyond just being there by chance. The bros suspected that Von's location and what he was doing were being watched by multiple parties with different goals. Duke and Youngan's breakdown of the NBA Youngboy connection showed deeper hate than regular rap beef. Von calling Youngboy's bars fake and the back-and-forth diss tracks showed personal animosity that went way past normal competition.
Them drugs bring it out and I can't hide. Trying to link me to Youngboy talking about on this song, bro.
What?
You talking crazy on this one.
Oh, yeah?
He ain't even like that. On his ass now.
On his ass.
Cap. You got cap in your raps.
Bro, street boss don't hit the white.
The bros understood that when drill beef reaches certain levels of disrespect, bodies dropping becomes guaranteed rather than just possible. And it was way more important for these rappers to make their territory, op territory. NBA Youngboys never broke again. Crew represented more than just musical competition. They embodied everything that Duke and Youngan viewed as straight cap about modern drill culture. While O Block members had earned their stripes through real street work and authentic experiences, NBA's people seemed to gain credibility through who they knew rather than what they did. This basic difference in keeping it 100 created hate that went beyond typical block disputes. Quando Rondo's spot as Youngboy's main man made him a natural target for O Block's anger with the NBA crew's success. Duke and Youngan peeped how Rondo's career benefited from Youngboy's cosign without needing the same level of street rep that Chicago artists needed to get similar recognition. This unfair advantage fueled their belief that smoke was coming when the crews eventually ran into each other. The federal for hire case that later came out against Lil Durk and 5 associates showed how Von's triggered some planned revenge mission rather than random payback. Duke and Youngan's knowledge of OTF's internal talks revealed that Von's murder was seen as a war declaration that needed a strategic response. Saviaya Lul Pab Robinson's in August 2022 represented the first successful get-back for Von's, confirming Duke and Youngan's belief that payback would eventually come. The fact that Quando Rondo's cousin caught it instead of Rondo himself showed both the challenges of executing street justice and how determined Von's people were to balance things out. Duke and Youngan viewed this outcome as partial satisfaction rather than complete resolution. Timothy Leaks' relationship with NBA Youngboy, documented through social media interactions and mutual associates, revealed connections that went beyond the Atlanta. Duke and Youngan's investigation into these relationships was deeper than you think. Their digging revealed coordination between multiple parties that seemed designed to ensure Von's presence at the Monaco Hookah Lounge lined up with Quando Rondo's crew's arrival. The Bros' understanding of territorial politics revealed how Von's presence in Atlanta created opportunities for ops who couldn't get close to him in Chicago. Von's confidence in neutral territory may have blinded him to the reality that NBA's influence stretched way beyond Baton Rouge, creating safe spots for his enemies in cities where O Block had limited reach. The same territorial blindness that cost Von his life would eventually claim the 2 soldiers who understood his death the deepest. Last words. Duke and Youngan's own in the Edgewater created some chilling parallel to Von's Atlanta. 2 more O Block soldiers getting caught slipping in what should have been safe territory. The May 10th, 2025 outside that Chicago nightclub raised questions about whether their investigation into Von's had made them targets. Reddit users immediately speculated that Duke and Youngan had been backdoored rather than caught by random ops. The precision of the attack and the timing suggested that somebody with inside knowledge had set them up, possibly to silence the voices about Von's.
Chicago, put it like this, it had to be a backdoor, because when you break down on phone, if you coming out of bar, think about it. If you coming out of bar, folks, let's break it down. If you coming out of bar, how somebody just gonna know you coming out the bar right when you coming out the bar? I don't care if they like, yeah, so-and-so in there. They say soon's Duke and them left out the bar, that's what played out. They say, come up.
Youngan's last few posts on Instagram basically gave up his location, the same way Von got caught slipping in ATL. Dropping these crumbs had the ops tracking moves and plotting. The crazy part, both of them used to speak on how Von's situation went down, but still ended up making the same mistake. Shows how hard it is to stay low-key when everybody is watching online. Their was a cold reminder. Being too visible in this street life can get you lined up quick. As for Duke, he had just become a dad with D-Thang's old girl, so he had even more reason to move smart. Being a father and still active in the streets put him in a tight spot, trying to balance both worlds. That pressure might have had him moving reckless the night he got hit. Now his baby has to grow up without a dad, just like Von's family had to deal with that same pain. The speculation about Tookaville, Smashville, or Ghoulie Gang involvement in Duke and Youngan's reflected the multiple ops that O Block had accumulated through years of territorial warfare. Asian Doll and Big 30's public tributes to Duke and Youngan emphasized the emotional toll that constant violence was taking on the drill community. These statements about the cycle of violence showed growing awareness that the culture was eating its own participants faster than it could replace them. Duke and Youngan's represented another chapter in some story that seemed to have no ending. Federal investigators' identification of Duke as Individual B in racketeering documents confirmed that his knowledge went beyond street talk to real intel about criminal organizations. His position gave him access to information that could have exposed powerful figures in Von's conspiracy. Youngan's loyalty to Duke meant he shared this dangerous knowledge. The pattern of O-Block losses since Von's Thang, Duke, Youngan, and others also suggested some systematic campaign to wipe out the organization's leadership structure. The real talk about King Von's died with Munna, Duke, and Youngan in that Edgewater. Whatever conspiracy they had peeped, whatever evidence they possessed, whatever get back they planned to seek, all of it got buried with their bodies. The streets claimed 2 more soldiers who knew too much and said too little. Now, O-Block is mourning, while Von's real killers stay breathing. The brothers who promised to balance the scales got their own scales balanced instead, and their truth about Von's murder remains buried under layers of conspiracy, federal cases, and fresh bodies. If you like this video, click one of the windows on either side to watch a video similar to this one.